Greetings, everyone. Welcome. Obvio Q&A. Everyone, which is, well, there's a few coming in. Hey, Sarah. Nice to see you. Got the faithful few at the moment, which is good. I'm sure there'll be more that will trickle in. Hello, Melanie. How are you? Good. You're representing Canada today? That's what's happening there?
So I have to, Heather asked me the same thing. My mom's was Canadian, so
Oh, wow.
I always have
Okay.
been, but I don't talk about it that much. So that
Yeah.
flag, Dr.
Uh,
Sally sent me that flag after my mom passed away.
ah,
Yeah.
oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
from
Okay.
Canada.
There you go. Like a dual citizen.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So we've got some people coming in. How are you, Heather?
It's good. How are you?
I'm okay. What's new in support?
Nothing.
Nothing's new
Happened.
in the support. Same old, same old. There we go. How are you, Justin? I'd like to hear those drums at some point. You got them all mic'd up. Would be nice.
At some point.
At some point. Do you play regularly or?
It depends on the week. Sometimes yes, and sometimes they just sit there.
Right. You're not in an active band at the moment?
I am not. Not at the moment.
No. Mm-hmm. Someday.
Someday again.
Yeah.
Life in Australia,
Okay.
Grant.
What's happening in Australia?
Yeah. How's life in Australia? It's hot. It snowed last night here in the south.
That's unusual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Barry was she was manifesting snow in Charleston, so she might be to blame.
I blame her then.
Yeah. Did it cause any problems for you?
No, the south just shuts down when there's snow. We don't have
There's no
like the
processes.
salt trucks or any
No.
plows, nothing like that. So even if it's just an inch or two, like the roads turn to crap. So
Where did you grow up? Didn't you grow up in snow?
yeah, I grew up in New York.
Yeah. So you were used to it. And
Yeah.
so now you just sit back and you scoff at all your neighbors. You're like, firstly, this is not snow. And secondly, stop freaking out. Like there's it's like you can manage. But no one would have chains on their wheels and things, right?
No, no one has all-wheel drive. No one has chains.
Yeah.
Look at money.
Oh, look at that. I wondered about that. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Just go easy. Don't crack the glass. It's a process. Very good. All right. Well, a few extra have come in. Hey, hello, Bill. And I thought I saw Irina has popped in there as well. All right. So have we got any questions sitting there at the moment, Heather?
Yeah, we have a few from Melanie that she had put in.
Okay.
So these are a little techie, but
All good.
we have nothing else. So let's go for it.
Yeah, that's right. We can do that now.
For our live online events, do we need a smart TV or a different type of TV for the TV to see our gallery?
Yeah, doesn't need to be smart, although it'll be just about impossible to buy anything other than a smart TV now. But they all of the smart TVs will try to tell you that they're smarter than others, and it just doesn't matter. You don't need to worry at all. So the only thing you're really looking at is whether it's a 4K screen or an HD screen, and not that you necessarily need it to be 4K, but it would probably be silly to buy just an HD screen now. That would also be hard to find. So anything that's a 4K screen at the size that you want would be fine. And whether it says it's smart or not, or it has these extra apps, or it has all these extra features, you won't use any of them because you'll just plug your computer in, you'll go to HDMI, and that'll be it. So,
The next
Hey, Blue.
one, oh, hello, Blue. The next one also from Melanie. At one point, I remember hearing that we should use the same type of camera for different views during our live event for better editing. I have one Sony A6-100. Thanks for your thoughts.
Yeah, so for people that are just joining us, we are ready to take Obvio questions. We haven't got any Obvio questions at the moment, so we're just taking some ancillary questions, which are things that are related to how you're getting your signal into Obvio or into Zoom, and so some production questions. And you can always tease Blue and I with a studio-based production question. So yeah, multiple cameras is definitely. We're talking a little bit about how having an establishment shot can be really cool. So something over the shoulder, or a wider shot that gives a sense to your audience of what you can see, and so when they see that you can see them, and that's a priority for you, then that makes a big difference, and that just stays in their mind, right? So a shot that you can cut to once or twice, like it doesn't need to be a lot, actually gives a sense of that they are constantly seeing me, and so that's a really cool thing. And then of course it depends on the type of work that you're doing. If you're needing then to do some practical things, or to show certain things, then you think about what angle that can be. But as far as the idea that having multiple cameras dramatically increases the content or the experience, I don't necessarily think that's true. Just the fact that there's multiple angles. Something I don't really like is when people are cutting to a camera that they're not looking at. It's always a little bit weird. And sometimes people do this, and so they'll cut to a shot, and then unless it's that establishment where they're looking at you on the screen, then that's okay. But the idea of like this looking off like another side shot, and you're not looking at that camera, that's just weird. You mess with people's perspective, because they're used to the idea that we're doing this face to face is the idea. And so could you imagine mid conversation with someone, you just went like this? Yeah, and so that's what it's like, what just happened? Why are you not looking at me anymore? It'd just be super weird. So be intentional about the extra cameras. So you're saying that you had a particular Sony. Was that your main camera, or is that your second camera?
That was my main camera, and earlier I was using my iPhone as my next camera. So I do the culinary, so I definitely need different camera angles to show what I'm doing. But
yeah.
The part of the question was, do I need to have the same camera?
I see.
So that when I edit together later on, it works better.
Yeah. It's an advantage. But often, I'd be interested in other people's opinion on this. But my take on that is that if you had something in the same brand, and that you can match somewhat, you don't want to go, particularly the colors and the white balance and the things like this of the camera. If it's dramatically different and you can't get it to look the same, then it just looks really weird. Like you're going to this totally different environment. You've gone from maybe a cool white light, and then it cuts to this very yellow different. It's just jarring, right? So as long as you can match it ultimately, and so having the same camera is great, but is probably, I think, a waste of budget to have such a good second camera, because you may find you could get two cameras for the same price that all match, and now you've got three cameras. So, Justin, you got something to add on all this?
Yeah, so there's a couple answers on this one. Depends on how much or what you're going to do with it. If it's just for during the event, then like Grant said, as long as it's not a dramatically different picture where it goes from this nice bright picture that you have right now to something that's kind of dark and dingy and grainy, like as long as it somewhat matches, people aren't going to notice. Now, if you're wanting to do a whole slew of video editing and sizzle reels and all kinds of stuff where it really kind of does matter that the white balance and the coloring and everything is somewhat matched, if you're the one doing it and you don't want to learn all those techniques, it helps to have the same cameras. If you're hiring a video editor, most video editors know how to make the cameras look the same and do the white balancing and all the post editing that might go along with it. So it just kind of depends a little bit of usage, but for your event, as long as you get them looking somewhat similar, and I'm sure you can make your iPhone look decent. The iPhone cameras are pretty darn amazing these days.
So
Yeah, agreed.
I also have just a really, really light take on this. I'm going to say it a little bit simpler than both Grant and Justin did, Melanie. If your two cameras are both shooting essentially the same scene, but from a different angle, ideally they are the same camera or at the very least the same brand. Okay. But in your case, I think part of what you're asking is one is going to be a shot of you and one is going to be kind of like a top-down shot of a board. Those two things are so completely different, and what's in the two angles is so completely different that if one of those cameras is a GoPro and the other one is a Sony A7S III, it's not going to matter because we're not there's no comparison. Like there's the same, like your face isn't going to wind up in the GoPro shot to show a skin tone, right? I'm not suggesting a GoPro is the right answer, by the way. I'm just saying that I don't think it matters for your specific use case. It's the same reason that in our studio, our front cameras are all the same brand, but the over-the-shoulder camera is not. It's not even close. And if we took the over-the-shoulder camera and put it next to the main camera and shot the same scene, they'd look very different. And it would be jarring, to Grant's point. But because it's not, because it's showing something completely different at a completely different angle that's expected to not be lit the same way, nobody notices. So I think in your case, it matters less.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
And Melanie, I definitely would spend your budget on something else besides a new camera. I think there's other tech enhancements since you've already got the iPhone. You've already done your events with that setup before. You know how to use it. You know how to set it up. It's looked good. You've been happy with it. Spend your money someplace else than getting a camera just to have a matching camera.
Very good. So, Heather, if we have some Obvio questions, we can divert to those first. So, for the people that have joined us, hello, welcome. And post your questions on the dashboard. There is a ask a question button, and that there's no tricks in that, by the way. That's just a form that we added that you could easily add to your dashboards. And we just had a little ask a question. You put the question in, and then in the forms you go to moderation, and then I can see all the questions, and we can look at those and manage them and move them around and things like that. Incidentally, Jeff, what happens when you export, when you do download submissions of the forms? Have you done that recently, Jeff?
I have not. Do I need to, Grant?
You do. In fact,
All right.
How about you do it before I tell you what is supposed to happen, just to make sure that it does actually happen?
I got to go find one. You might have to talk about something else for a second, but I will.
No, that's right. That's fine. And while your microphone looks great, it doesn't sound great. It sounds like you're selected on a different mic. But yes, have a look. The concept, and if it's not there now, which it should be, what you should happen is now you should get all your tags and groups in the form submission downloads. So when you get that export, you should have all of that there. So have a look at that. That was one of your requests, Jeff.
It was. I
I'm
should have
just
the right
proving with.
mic selected now.
There we
And
go. You do.
you've ruined the fun now, but I will download a bunch of forms just to humor you, Grant.
Just see what
And
it
I will
looks
cheer wildly with my mute on.
like. Very, very good. All right. Next question.
So Irina wants to know if it is safe to use Marketplace landing page and the upsell page for promotional purposes, or is it still in beta and I should use something else instead for now and wait until it is completely confirmed?
I would say yes and yes, but for the official response, Blue.
I was actually going to say the same thing. I think it's
Yeah.
safe to use, and I think it's still in beta, right? I think we're definitely still looking for bugs and trying to improve things along the way. But that's not to say that it's not ready to use. You certainly could use it.
And there is upsell page too. You said it would come. I don't know if it came already or not.
Justin, can you actually answer that? How's the upsell page coming? I think last I saw there was a PR that went through for the no thank you text versus button, but outside of that, I think it's ready to go, right?
I think so as well. It might be one of those options we have to turn on.
It is. Yeah, so Heather, for Irina, let's open up her account and give her the checkbox for the upsell pages for now.
I'm doing the summit. I cannot have it something wrong with it if I have so many people involved. That's why I'm asking if it's safe or not.
I think it's safe, but I also do think you do test it. Like when you finish it, before you send traffic to it, I mean, honestly, you should do this whether you set it up with us or you set it up on ClickFunnels or you set it up on GHL or wherever you set up your pages. You should run through it in its entirety. But you should be fine.
I was just procrastinating because it's a learning curve. I have to learn to do the landing page itself. But I still can do my previous setup. So previous
Yeah,
setup, no problem.
Then I would say it comes down to what is the advantage and is it worth it, right? Is there a problem that you're solving by moving it to the Obvio marketplace?
No, it's just pretty and more modern, I think, than just website like before. I mean, my pages are pretty, but it doesn't mean pretty and they have to be functional too. I don't know.
I've seen
I like Obvio. I'm very fond of Obvio. I do everything on Obvio, so just thought it could be nice. Plus, it's a summit. It would be easy to put pictures of speakers right there on the landing page because there is specific, right? Like you had speakers there. And when I learn it, it won't take me long to learn it, or my VA could do it. I don't know, but it would be nice.
I would say to you that I think it's safe to use. And yeah, test, especially if you already have your old summit ready to go. So you could just copy it. And if it doesn't work,
no, I have landing pages, I have websites, not the summit. Summit is old, long time ago.
Got it.
Has to be new. My summit is in March. So February.
I'll say this, Irina. Somebody has to go first.
Okay.
So, why not you? What I'll tell you is if you do decide to do it, let us know and let us know along the way if you run into problems. Don't wait for the Wednesday call and we'll work with you to get the problems resolved.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
But until March, right? You still have time to do maybe something, work on it.
What I would say to you is what we're looking for is bugs that you may find that we haven't found yet. So it is pretty much ready for you to use, but you may run into a couple of little hiccups here and there that you're like, hey, this is a weird behavior. We want to know about that so we can solve it.
And for the summit, it's still the same, like we can do only 3 emails.
3 emails a day.
3 emails a day.
Yes.
Per person.
So how many days? Is there a loophole?
Every day of your event. So if your summit is a 14-day event, then you can Do it three emails every day of the 14 days.
Yeah, I'm not
I was
talking
waiting for you
about.
to calculate 14 times 3.
Yeah, I was just thinking about emailing speakers about like reminders and all of that. Or I should do Active Campaign. I will use Active Campaign as well, but just to see logistics, what for Obvio, what for Active Campaign.
If you have your speakers loaded, I mean, speaker emails and speaker reminders, are those automated or are those a little bit more personalized? Like, I think that's really going to be the key.
Well, they will be automated for reminders. Like we have promotion, everybody will promote on the same day. So that reminder will go and it's scheduled.
Yep.
Then another day scheduled, but then personal also on the day of the interview.
You can do that. You can do that stuff through the broadcast system for sure.
Oh, I wonder if I can use it.
Irina, let me. Kat, do you have something to add on this? You're very keen to say something.
I do. So this is a good question relevant to the broadcast emails. I just had an event around the world, and the event ended physically on Sunday, but we're doing a follow-up the following Sunday. So I went to try to change the date to allow a reminder email to go out to the same 600 people. But I'm not sure that that's possible to do. So the calendar, when I went to change it to extend that reminder that we're having a follow-up to that event, it wouldn't change to zeros. I mean, it wouldn't change beyond zeros. And then I didn't know if I was able.
So let's sorry, Kat, let's make sure we wrap with Irina and then we'll loop back to you.
Yeah, it's similar in that it's about broadcast. But Irina, let me just give you an example of something that I used in an event, which I think relates to exactly what you're talking about. And that is, I did this event where I had a lot of team members and some speakers, and then I have all my attendees, right? So say I've got 20 speakers, for example, and I have 100 attendees. When I set up my broadcasts, I want to send a specific broadcast that goes out to all the attendees, but none of the speakers. I don't want to send the email that I send to my attendees to my speakers. I want it separate, right?
Right.
And so say for example, I send out one an hour before the event starts, and then 10 minutes before the event starts. I wouldn't do this, but as an example, 10 minutes before the event starts, and then as it starts. That's 3 emails that all of my attendees got on that day, and then that's it. I can't send any more to those attendees. But for the speakers, they didn't get any of those 3 emails.
Got it.
And the speakers can get 3 emails. Each person can get 3 emails each day. So when you filter the broadcast, what I would do for my speakers was I was able to send and say, hey, everyone, this is how you get in, for your time slot, that sort of thing. And I would also send a different one to my team members, and I had access for them that was different too. And so each individual can get 3 a day. And so it depends on how you filter those. So you can have 10 emails that send every day, as long as it's all filtered out and it goes to individual people. And so you filter that in the broadcast. That makes sense?
Oh, that makes total sense. Yes. And I will be sending to speakers earlier before the event, because for the promotional dates, and if attendees would go that time. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the other thing I was just going to mention as well, Irina, with your marketplace, is I wonder whether there's an opportunity for you to be able to send to a select group of people that you are confident are going to come, that they're, return clients or customers. And you could say, I'm asking 12 people to trial something well ahead of the event. I haven't opened registration yet, but I want to offer this to you, 12 people or whatever it is, and say, I'm asking for 2 reasons. One, I really want to make sure you come. And secondly, I just want feedback on the process. we're using a new system, and I'd love you to test that and just give me any feedback of if there was any problems or things that weren't intuitive for you or whatever. You could ask that of them. And so then it's kind of win-win, right? You're getting early registrations and you're getting some feedback and you're testing it without going super wide. You've sent it to, a small group of people, and you get the feedback and you can fix a couple of things before you go wider with it. So that could be a safe way of doing it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Great idea. Yeah. I have clients, they will do it.
Yeah, great. So Kat, so what all it sounds like, I mean, we can go into finer detail with it, but you just need to make the event time window to include the week. So in the event settings, go beyond the week, so the event settings need the time start and the time end will likely be 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, right? To make sure that it's sitting within that time. And then when you go in and now when you go back and maybe you're duplicating an email to send out, then you just follow these steps slowly, and you'll be able to set your time frame to be in the future. As long as it's 5 minutes or more than 5 minutes into the future, then that should save okay. You're muted. You're shouting at me. Muted.
I'm sorry.
There we go.
I tried changing the end time to January 26th, and still the countdown clock is set at 0. So when it shows up on
Are you talking about the countdown clock on your dashboard? Those are two different things. The countdown clock on the dashboard is a component that has an end time that you set. It is not actually related to the start or end time of your event. They're two completely different things.
Okay, so where do I
share your screen? Do you want to share your screen, Kat?
Sure. Give me a moment. Do you see the white part now? The settings?
I do. It looks to me like would you refresh that page for me?
Okay.
And scroll down a little bit. Yep, you're already set. Your end time is set to January 26th, 8:05 p.m.
Okay, so then when I go to the dashboard, the clock is set at 0.
That's a different thing. So click on the gear next to the countdown timer.
Okay.
And you're going to see an end that right at the top. That is January 19th, 2 p.m.
Okay.
So if you want to change that for some reason, and I would question why you would need to change that, but if you do, then you would just set that to be sometime in the future. And you can, it can be a month after the event end time. It actually doesn't matter. Those two things just are not directly connected.
Okay. And then I have a question. Thank you very much, Justin and Blue, for responding to the piece about changing the leaderboard. Have you had requests from people to not be on the leaderboard before?
No.
Why would
there isn't, I mean, and if you have something like that, how many people are in you said you have like 600 people on your event.
Yeah.
So the leaderboard only shows the top 200. So if you want to make sure that somebody doesn't show up on the leaderboard and you have 200 or more participants, then you could set that person's points to a negative number that is significant, right? Like -2 million. They'll never get 2 million points. They'll never wind up on the leaderboard. So they'll always be in last place. There isn't a way to hide somebody from the leaderboard if you have less than 200 attendees.
Okay, so to eliminate this Laura Melton, where do I actually go to change that?
You go to the attendee page, the attendee tab on the left-hand side.
Uh-huh.
And you search for her.
Uh-huh.
You want to share your screen just to make sure we're in the same?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thought it was still sharing.
You may, no, I don't think you're. And yeah, so search for her right up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And then click on the trophy button.
How do I move that?
Right next to the clipboard icon.
Right, I'm trying to move this thing out of the way. Guess I'll do that. And click on the icon.
And then type in like 4,000.
Oh.
Just actually type it. Yep.
Oh, that's weird. It puts a 0 in front.
Take the arrow key and point it to the left. And now type 4,000 or 40,000, doesn't matter. And click subtract.
Okay.
There you go.
So do I
So now she has
it?
negative 39,168 points and probably isn't on the leaderboard anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Let me just verify that. Leaderboard.
It may take some time to sync.
Okay. All right. And then so could I just ask one thing about the broadcasts? Now that I've changed the end time, I'll be done here in 1 minute. I want to make sure that I can send. So now I should be able to send further messages to the group, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next question, Heather.
Irina said to continue your input about the light behind the books from my tech lab yesterday. What exactly is light and where exactly do I place it? Behind the flower arrangement and the books on that table or on the floor?
Okay, nice. What exactly is light? Now that's a deep question. There are different types of lights. Yeah. So the thing that I'd love to see is light under that table, and that what that would do is it would just create a little bit of depth in the set. So whether or not you keep the books there, that's totally your question. I was just questioning or challenging why you have books there. That's all. And so, but you can get all sorts of different. I use so the lights in the background here are tube lights, and they're LED, and these ones are RGBW, which means red, green, blue, and white, and so they can be used for all sorts. These are the Godox something. What are they called? Something T. Model number is escaping me. I'll find it. There's a little set with 4 of them, which is it's not all that expensive, and they're even battery operated, which is pretty sweet. And so you can put them. You could put them at the bottom of the curtain. You could put them at the top. You could do both, and you can have the same color. Just kind of warming is what we call it, but just like brightening the curtain just a little bit. And you can have even different colors if you want, that sort of thing. But sorry, I got distracted by the what is light. What else were you thinking of?
No, that's what I meant. What kind of light? Okay. Because I bought little lights before. There are so many of them. I tried to put, they didn't work. I didn't like it. Because you had specific recommendation. That's why I'm asking specifically.
Yeah, sure.
You said
Yes,
about
okay.
this spot, so.
Yes. I'll find these ones. There it is, TL60.
So you put them on the floor, right? I can just put down there.
You can, but you know, particularly for a set, when you're talking about a set, there's no right and wrong, right? Like with the lights, because the ones you have on your face, which you've done awesome with, right? That's so good. What you've got now is great, and you want to be quite specific about what you do with front light. But when it comes to set lighting, as we've heard before, you know, Muddy was talking about it as well. Like, there's all sorts of different things that you can have that don't need to be anything specific. I'm making a suggestion of this particular one, this little kit. I've just put the link in there because. Oh, hang on, is that the right one? Oh yeah, this is the two. This is slightly different to what I've got, but similar. It might be TL30, the one that I have. There's a little it's TL30. It's much cheaper, and for what you're doing, so you can get a 4 kit. I'll just post that one. You can get a 4 kit for a similar price. It's just the second link I've posted there is what I have. And so it's got a nice little holders and clips and things that you can use for it as well. And then I just use my phone and I can change the colors and get that all set. So, and I would just experiment a little bit, but that's my feeling on your shot, is that it would
your feeling. Tell me your feeling. Yep. So underneath the table, behind the table, right? Yeah. Underneath, behind the table. And where else? Yep. You said 4.
Yeah. I'd even
because you always talk about lights, so you better say specifically where to put them. All these years I've heard about lights.
I'm interested to hear what other people like Jeff. I'm interested in your thoughts on this too. But I think that for me, 2 lights could possibly do it, and I would try to set the color to be like a reddy burgundy sort of color, and it just puts a little bit of light and accent, and what it will do is it'll just create some extra depth in your view. So and what would also happen is if you did do top light, so if you had some light that was just shining down, what that would do is it would hit those flowers and you would get some shadows and some accents that would happen on the flowers, and the flowers would pop. You could even do like a little green. You could have the top one could be a green, or like, you have to be careful with green, but it can work, as in you don't want to make your face green, is what I'm saying. But the green could make those leaves pop out a little bit, or when you have sort of that purple or something, when that's shining down on that, it would look really cool.
Well, that's the ceiling, right? I have to put something on the ceiling, or that vertical possibly. Blue was talking about yesterday. Yeah, better the floor right now.
Are they just standard curtains? They're just normal curtains?
No, my curtains are on the rod. The rod, okay, and right. Not the rod, but the stand for photo background, the big one.
Yeah. Oh, okay, right.
It's underneath the ceiling, and it covers whole wall, and it's like this.
Okay, that's cool. Because these are magnetic as well, and so they literally just stick onto things that.
Oh, so they could stick to it? It's metal.
Yeah.
Even through the fabric?
That could potentially work. Maybe. Yeah.
I could see. I could see.
Your mileage may vary.
Another question you mentioned. Blue kept saying yesterday, the remote with the color. What's the app? What's the name? I now have my iPhone. So what's the app for iPhone? Before I had Galaxy.
It's very specific to the model of things that you're connecting to. Yeah.
Got
so
it.
Generally they will only work with the one the one app, so the name brand. What Blue was mentioning was the Aperture app works with all the aperture line, like all, and that's a very, very big,
Right.
there's a lot of
Right.
products that all work and they all talk to each other, which is kind of cool. So
Got it. Thank you so much.
yeah, so see how you go. And it's simply my opinion. If we ask Blue, he might say, don't even worry about it, it looks great. So, and this is it's one of those 1%ers. This is what we talk about as 1%ers. What will make 1% difference? And if you did 10 1%ers, it can make a really significant difference. But what we're talking about is the 80-20 rule. If you're doing 80%, 80% is nailed. You've got it great. You look great. Looks really good. Got good sound. You look great. And so any suggestions are only a very minute thing. So
to my defense, my camera, when it works, Lumix, it has lens, Sigma lens, like Blue recommended, the ones.
Yeah.
So background is blurred because it focuses on my face. So it's usually, not always my books pop up. They get blurred too. You're just tired of looking at them because it's been for so long.
That's right. No, it's because I'm desperate to read them. I've read the covers for so long, and now I just wonder what's inside.
Don't blame the mirror for your ugly face. How about this one?
Nice. Do you know what I should just ask you every week? I just ask you to turn the page, and that way I could slowly read the whole book.
Normally, Grant only reads picture books, but he's trying to expand his horizons.
That's right. Oh, there's words. Oh,
imagine that.
Probably not. But have a look at some TV. And when you look at broadcast, and just look at the frame, often it's very balanced. It's visually balanced. And so that's another thing for me with the books at the moment, is that it's not balanced, right? And so it's heavy on one side and nothing on the other side.
I just thought there could be some kind of decoration there. That's why.
Fair enough. Yeah, and it's a great thing to do. Sometimes you see people with bookshelves, or some shelves, and then they have a couple of books and a few other little knickknacks, that they have, and they can be really good talking points. Like people are like, oh, what is that? It's like, this is an artifact that I found with Indiana Jones. And so let me tell you that story, like whatever it is, there's certain things that people have sometimes in shelves. So, well,
it's the credibility. I mean, I don't need to mention my books. It's there. I've written 5 books and 4 of them here. I mean, it's something I've done.
Yep. I think it's great. And you often see people with their books in the background. That's all I was questioning is, what are you wanting to communicate?
Whether there are picture awards in those books. That's what you were questioning.
That's right. Yeah. I'm really good with Dr. Seuss books. Is that sort of your writing style?
No.
And all right.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. And well done once again. There's been a big progression as you've joined each time over the time, and it looks great.
Thank you.
Jeff, what's your observations?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Irina, I think maybe balancing. So like Grant was saying, I'm very when I design something or direct anything, I'm very symmetrical. I once had a director yell at me because he wanted the stage to be unbalanced. In other words, all of the cast members on one side to crowd it and give a certain feeling. And I kept going over and they go, what is he doing? He goes, Jeff naturally balances the stage. I like things very symmetrical. So to me, when I look at your look right now, I would probably put a plant on the other side, maybe more of like a tree kind of a plant, because you've got flowers already. But in my mind, that's what would help balance the frame a little bit. And then what naturally happens is when both sides are a little bit balanced, the eye then draws towards the center, which is you, right? You're the star of the show. And so I think that might help a little bit, and totally agree with Grant. Some little warmers on the lights, in other words, up lights on the curtains, I think will create some separation, some depth, and then some interest as well.
So it's like you said, it could be the tree in the pot, let's say, just all three, or I have to put a table? And I guess it doesn't matter, right? Just
I wouldn't do a table. I would do something different just to vary the look a little bit,
vertical.
maybe make it a little more interesting. But you already have the greenery in there. You already have purple as a theme. You already have kind of a burgundy a little bit as a theme. And so I would probably just bring that green theme, keeping with the natural and the plant kind of idea on the other side. I think that would balance the frame nicely.
Thank you.
you're
Don't
very
expect
welcome.
next week. I have to look for a good tree.
Got to think
So
about it.
don't
No tree.
expect
We will tell
immediate.
you, come back 1 year.
I
Be
have to
the
put money into tech first.
frame Nazi.
Fair enough.
Seinfeld reference, not a.
Yeah, so I've got
Yes.
nothing else. Nothing, not politically anything else. Yeah,
Have to be
Justin.
careful with that nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
Does your heart go out to people as you say that? Is that what's going on?
Only soup lovers.
Yeah. Justin.
So Irina, on the light side, since I have uplights behind me, if I turn all my uplights off, you can see it's just a very different, very flat kind of look. And as I start turning them on, you can start to see it starts to slowly separate me out until I get all my lights on. So it just shows kind of what the difference is. And your background's kind of that same way that as you get some uplights, it would separate you a little bit. It would let us know, I'm sure, because I can see above the plant that they look burgundy curtains, but below the plant, it just looks like a dark void. I can't even tell there's curtains there. And when you put the uplights, you'll fully see the curtains, you'll see the books. And I think I would also venture, if your normal camera is blurring the background, the books might not be the best thing there if your books are blurry. So just something to consider. Right now, like we can see them and it's a credibility builder, but if your background was blurry, all I would see is that there's some books there. And because your headshot's big on one, I'd make an assumption you wrote at least one of them, but I probably wouldn't be able to see anything else.
There you go. So the way that Blue and I met was through a thing called office hours, officehours.global. And one of the things that we would do every now and again was a thing called ruthless reviews. And that's where people would come on, they'd talk, and so you'd listen to their audio, and then you'd look at their camera, and then you'd have 10, 15 people all give their opinions on your setup. And so it was a ruthless review.
I am so happy you're doing it. Oh, bring it on. Tell me every detail.
I'm not suggesting
moment.
that we start being ruthless in these reviews, but that is something that we have done before. So just a reminder to everyone that some extra people have joined in. As you know, you will always get Blue and I and others going on production questions, and we're happy to share some of that. But our key focus for today is Obvio questions, and so we will prioritize Obvio specific questions, and they can be advanced, they can be entry level. I don't know how to do this, whatever it is. Then that's what we're here for, is specifically Obvio questions. So to that point, Heather, have we got anything else there?
We don't have any specific to Obvio questions. We have some production questions though.
So swinging back then to Irina's broadcast question that she asked, I think potentially, Irina, that it makes more sense for you to stick with Active Campaign and for some of the stuff you're doing. Things like that segmentation, you can store those in Active Campaign, reuse them, or every time you want to send a list, say to speakers, you got to reset that filter up for every broadcast you want to send them to. You want to exclude the speakers, you've got to set that filter on every broadcast. Or Active Campaign gives you a lot of the ability to create that segment, save it, and just say, apply that to either a workflow, apply it to an actual email you're sending out. Because you've already got it and you're already familiar with it, it may make sense for you to stick there for a lot of those kind of reminder emails. The broadcasts are great for things like text messages, because Active Campaign doesn't do text messages. But for the emails, I think it might behoove you to stay in Active Campaign since you're already familiar with it and already have it set up.
Right. I do want to keep it, and also ThriveCart, because ThriveCart has affiliate set up already. I was just wondering about landing page. That's my right now concern, because I don't want to old ways, because I already done it and I wanted something newer. But that's what I'm wondering. So if any suggestions about landing page.
Yeah, I would say on the marketplace front, we're still looking for people to do testing and let us know if there's bugs like Blue mentioned. We have a few things that to fix up in it, some enhancements, but we don't have any major things on the roadmap right now. You know, it's been pretty stable. I would say give it a try for marketplace. I know there's people using it already and have been using it for a while, and we're not getting a lot of bug reports in at all. It feels like something you could try and use.
Since we're talking about it, can I ask one more thing? If I'm doing landing page marketplace, it already has Stripe. I integrated it. But can I use Thrive card instead of, can I use Obvio Marketplace as landing page and then Thrive card as the next step, the upsell, and even payment? Like maybe free ticket on landing page and then
no, not the way the system is currently designed, because I don't believe there is a redirect on purchase. The redirect is automated. It's not set. There's no way to customize the redirect after an opt-in.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's why I keep thinking, what do I do? Marketplace or something else? Thank you.
Not directly, but you would then have a tag that's added, right, Blue, and so then it go back to the dashboard, and now you've got a new button that appears.
Yeah, but that's not what she wants. I mean, not what she should want anyway.
Yeah, it's not a great user experience.
No, I think what Irina would ideally want is essentially the ability to take the thank you page and have the thank you page redirect rather than just load the thank you page. So the downside to that is you start to lose some of you lose the advantages of using the marketplace system by doing that. And if you're gonna do that, just use an external system top to bottom. That's where I would head.
Because if I use marketplace, it all ends with marketplace, right?
Or the dashboard, yes.
Right, the dashboard. So then I would import attendees into my system, or integrate ActiveCampaign with that, with the summit, and then the attendees will be tagged and they will end up in ActiveCampaign, right? Like the usual way.
Yeah, the other way around, but yes. You would tag them in ActiveCampaign and they wind up in Obvio, not the way you said it.
Not the way. Well, if they come to the Obvio from landing page of Obvio from marketplace.
Yes.
Then what? Do they end up in ActiveCampaign, or I have to do it manually? I thought I could integrate now.
You can integrate with ActiveCampaign. When somebody purchases, they then get sent to ActiveCampaign. Yes.
Right. Okay.
But if you want to keep your purchases in Thrive, then if it were me, I would do the opt-in on Thrive as well, if you can. I don't know if you can.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Can I give you a big compliment? You all, Blue and Grant, you both were like concerned about me looping out of Zoom at the join us here button. What I want you to know is it turned out fabulous. The pop-up that we used was awesome. The dashboard gave all of the data to everyone. Sorry, there are people in this room talking. And the connection to pop-up was seamless. So I'm sharing that with you to say that if people want to use a different platform, all I did was connect through the join us here button to another link, and it worked out beautifully. I do have one question. So originally I set up the speaker bios as a series of blog posts, and they didn't love the way I did it. So they went into Canva and redesigned it. And when I put those in, instead of my normal on my purchase page, it reoriented the sequence, and it no longer made it mobile ready.
Because you used images. It was using images with all the text.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So is there a way that I could work around that in the future? It came last minute, so I had to accept what they gave me. I didn't have enough time to make those changes myself. I just took the panels and put them in.
Yeah, that's the problem. So all that the when it's squashed down to a mobile device, it's just squashing the images right down. If the images because it's got text in it, it's going to be very, very small. And so that's why to be responsive and to be mobile ready, then it needs to be able to separate those things out, make the images smaller, but keep the text large. So it has to be text in order to do it that way. So yeah, that's just how it needs to be able to work.
And what I found out is that almost all of Africa has no desktop or laptop. They all work on mobile phones. So that's an important piece of information for me to operate from in the future.
Well, and lots of the rest of the world have desktops and other computers and don't use them, and they're using their phones, right? So it is very important. And it's the reason that in Marketplace, we didn't just make it responsive, we made it customizable for mobile, you know, so that you can not just have it responsive and try to adjust, but you can go in and manually change things and say, do you know what? I'm not going to have this image display on mobile at all. I'm only going to show I'm going to show this other image, or you know, and so you can actually create a unique experience for both devices, or at least a targeted experience, you know, that's designed specifically for the device. So yeah, it's worth considering. It's getting it is getting challenging to have those experiences the same. It doesn't change the fact that, you know, for online events, an online event is still best experienced on a larger screen, whatever that may be, you know. So yeah.
But even for TED Talk, people are watching their tiny phones.
Of course. Yeah. Great.
How do you
I'll actually go one step further. I don't see there actually being a problem on your dashboard for mobile. It actually looks fine to me.
Was it the speakers on the dashboard?
Yeah, they're right here. I can see it perfectly.
Yeah, it's the dashboard, I think, is okay. It's the purchase page.
Okay.
Or the registration page, maybe.
Yeah, and is that an Obvio page?
Yeah.
It's a marketplace.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, yeah, that's what you were just on, right?
No, that was the dashboard.
Oh, that was the dashboard.
Gotcha. Oh, interesting. They showed me where the FAQs came first, and then the blog started. I could not reproduce that, but that's what they told me.
Okay. I'll let Blue have a little look around on that.
Yeah, on the dashboard, I don't see any issues. On the sales page,
But on the
sales page
dashboard,
actually
it wasn't
loading for me at
images
all.
though, right?
Yeah,
It
it's
wasn't
images, but
images.
they scale properly, Grant. There's no issues there.
There's separate images for the text.
Yeah, well, whatever, they scale properly. Like, yes, I mean,
Yeah. It's not just
yes.
whatever, because if it was one image with the profile photo, the bio photo, and the text, that would be a problem. But them being separate has worked well. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I think Obvio did exactly what it was supposed to and did the responsive scaling. But I think where Cat's at is it wasn't really a great user experience. The text became too small to read with the images when it did responsive. And Cat, I think this is a case of graphic designer that does graphics and doesn't do web design and funnel design, because any graphic designer that's done anything in funnels would know not to give you an image like that if they wanted to be mobile responsive. They would have given you the image and given you the text separately in there. And it was just a case of they mainly do graphics like flyers and banners and things where it doesn't matter, but on the web, it does matter that those are separate, as you learned.
Justin, what kind of parameters should I clue a person in who might want to do that again in the future? Do I just
really, it's web development at the end of the day, whether they're building a funnel, whether they're building a landing page, whether they're building a website, like all of that technology is pretty much the same, and all the standards are pretty much the same with kind of do's and don'ts and best practices in there. So if they learn any of that kind of stuff and make it for knowing they got to make it for desktop, knowing they got to make it for mobile, knowing how to test it with the browser tools so you can test on various sizes. It's like all of that stuff the average funnel builder typically will know.
So I sent these as I tested them a lot before I released it, and I couldn't reproduce what they said they experienced. So anyway,
You're just saying one of your blocks moved up to the top for the FAQ issue?
Yeah, the FAQs went first, and then the first panel that was on the dashboard did, yeah. So there's, yeah, that's what happened. That's on the purchase page.
Yeah.
The FAQ.
So it just needs to be reordered. I mean, basically what's going on is
they're all images, right?
They are all images. This is
going to be hard to read.
Yeah, this is not, this is far from ideal.
Well, it also is not it's not really accessible either, in that a screen reader wouldn't be able to read that.
No.
Is another thing to consider.
And what's interesting is all of this stuff, like all of these images, could have actually been designed like that in Marketplace.
Yeah.
So
backgrounds.
Yeah, they're exactly backgrounds and text overlays. Like that's all it is. There's nothing, it's not that complicated. Or backgrounds with text overlays with a couple of images placed on top. Like all of that could have been done in the editor. And
yeah.
So the fix,
it was delivered to me 24 hours before.
Yeah, no, I have no blame here, just so you know. I mean, the answer is though, well, first off, to whoever asked you to build the website, don't give me assets 24 hours before it's going to go live if you expect it to be live. Like, just don't do that. That's not going to happen. Like I wouldn't, if somebody asked me to build a website in less than 24 hours and didn't give me any, or, whatever, a week before or a month before and didn't give me the assets until the day before, I would probably tell them, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And I know that you're not in that position. You can't do that, but like I think that's unreasonable to put you in that position, generally speaking.
I did too, and I didn't have the greatest attitude about it, but I'd like to not be in that position again.
Yeah, and I think the reality is if I was you, what I would be doing is when you have some downtime, go back, take a look at those images, and then learn how to reproduce those image. Each image could be its own section on an Obvio Marketplace page, with the text being text blocks and the background of the section having the image. Like this could have been, these aren't actually complicated images. They look really pretty, but that's because of the background image. It's not a complicated design. So had they given you the assets and said, here's what I want it to look like, here's the text, here's the background image as two different things, now you could have created that actually relatively quickly. But just uploading images to a website and expecting it to be the website, it doesn't matter if you're using Obvio or Squarespace or Wix or whatever the F, like it just doesn't matter. Here's images, upload them as my website. That's, 1992 called, they want their website back. Like that's not how web design works in the last 20 years, in all honesty. And this is not directed at you. I want you to hear me. Like whoever asked you to do it like this, has never even looked. I don't think they've ever been on the internet, to be honest with you. I think maybe they've only ever looked at print design.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So yeah, everything that how those images looked in the end, if we had the assets, like if we had the different parts that were used to build those images, you could have done that in Marketplace. And you wouldn't have needed a ton of time. I would have asked for more than 24 hours, but you could have done that.
So this is what I learned. I had basically invited these 14 speakers. This is just a heads up for, I don't know, whatever reason, but I have always organized my TEDxVale events, and I am the curator, by inviting these 14 women conservation leaders from around the world. They became the curators, and everything that I did was questioned. So that was at the last minute. They wanted to redirect everything that was already done on Obvio. So
you are too kind to have actually accommodated those requests, is my opinion.
All right. Love you guys.
But I think it's really sweet that you tried to.
Yeah, totally is.
You may want to tighten your contractor arrangement. This is not criticism to you, but just so you're not in that situation again, because it's so stressful when those things happen.
Yeah, speakers are the biggest, honestly, prima donna pain in the asses. They really are. That when it comes to events, like they're one step above. They're actually one step worse than hosts, because hosts actually at least understand, on some level. They've been through the design, they've been through the process, they've been through the planning process. When you bring in a guest speaker, all of a sudden they're like, oh, and I want this to happen at that time and this to happen. And it happens virtually, it happens in person, it's all the time. And especially keynotes, especially those who feel as though they are perhaps doing you a favor by showing up to your event, which my guess is some of these 14 people may have felt like. That's just the beauty of dealing with speakers.
So is there some kind of languaging that you use to make it clear that I don't ever want to be in this situation again? How do you deal with divas?
You don't want to know what I would say. It's all about setting Jeff's right, actually. It's about, I'll be more serious. It's about setting the expectation in advance with a speaker agreement. There actually is sample speaker agreements inside of the Rush course that you have access to. And there's, if memory serves, we have 3 different speaker agreements. One is a paid keynote. One is I don't remember what they all are. One is a speaker with a revenue share, like with an offer that is a revenue share, and one is a speaker that isn't paid, that there is no revenue share. And but the bottom line is it's all about setting the expectation early on. Do you want them to promote? Great. When you ask them to come speak, you should ask them to promote at the same time. Don't wait a week later or even a day later. It all has to happen at the same time. When they say yes to speak, they have to understand that they're saying yes to speak and promote, not just speak, right? So it really is all about whether you use a contract or not, if whether you use a contract or you just use an email, right? If your TEDx Vail speakers are a little, and my guess is that TED has some, some sample agreements that you can work off of as well. I would be shocked if they don't.
Yep, we do. Yep.
But from there, it's really just about setting the expectation early on and saying, this is what I expect from you. This is what we will deliver. This is what I expect you to deliver, right? Yeah. If you go 17 minutes and 1 second, we're going to cut your microphone and pull out the big candy cane hook. You're done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Well, I'm not sure it is, but you're welcome.
Well, yeah, it's raised things that we all have to deal with all the time.
Yeah.
For example, like this is a horse that's designed by a committee, and then that's the horse. Single creative vision. You wait, it's a GIF, right? Check this out. Single creative vision is the horse, or there's client's mum, client, planner, sales, creative technologist, accountant.
Grant, I thought this was a clean show. What do you keep showing? What is going on?
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about. It just replaces the horse is just stronger than the camel. That's what that's about.
Grant, are you okay?
I actually just found that, and I just
it's a clean show.
Enjoyed it.
I know. Wow.
I don't know what your dirty minds are talking about. I just saw a single creative vision is the horse that you want, not the camel that a committee creates. Next question. Get me out of here.
This is from Melanie. So she has a strategy question for her 3-day live virtual event, similar to Blue walking around showing tech during TVE. She wants to know your thoughts on moving away from the studio set, like to her garden during her live virtual event. She'll have assistants who can roam with the camera. We don't have any other Obvio questions, so we're going back to these production questions. Right. Sorry, Grant.
No, it's fun. We love these sorts of questions. All right. So often with these things, there's multiple ways of looking at it, right? And so there's a technical aspect, and then there's firstly there's the why, like the why question, and I actually think there is some value in this. One of the things I think about with virtual events is getting my attendees out of their space sometimes, right? A very simple thing that I've done is during a break, I've asked people to go outside and find something to come back and share, right? Could be a leaf, could be a stick, could be something that just captures your attention. Now, what it means is that they have gone outside, they've got some fresh air, they've touched something natural and whatever, and then they've brought that back in, and it creates a common experience. No matter where people are, no matter what country they're in, you all have, so a common experience creates community, a common unity. And so now you've got do you remember when we all did that? And I brought back a stick and didn't think much of it. And then someone brought back a stick and they were blown away by XYZ of it. And someone bought this amazing flower and someone bought this. And it's a very short, small thing to do that just instantly builds this moment in your event. And it doesn't matter what your content is, that can be a 5-minute thing that can work really well. So it's a long way in saying that you moving, I would say if that makes a big difference for you, does that make you more comfortable? Does that make you a better presenter? And does it help in a particular way to move yourself outside? There's lots of technical challenges. We can talk about some of those, but if you're super clear that this is really worth all the challenges, it's going to be better, then I'd be like, yeah, let's explore it. How do you feel with?
Yeah, I'm so
like
used to doing
respond?
events outside with people, like at farms. So I'm used to moving around and doing things and not being in one space. And one of the things I thought about is, oh, I could go to I kind of already know what's going to be growing at that time, and I can even pre-plant, but I can go out and go, oh, here are some herbs, here are some edible flowers, and then bring them back and then have fun with it. That's kind of what came to me yesterday.
Yeah. So two
I
things on
also
this.
love your idea, like maybe get them to go to the refrigerator and get something and come back.
100%. Yeah. And I know this sounds a little COVID-y, when I say some of these things, because it sounds like when everyone had to be home and we were trying to do some tricks. And so it sounds like a game that was added because everyone's at home, and there was this under or overtone of, doesn't it suck that we're all home and we have to do this? So how about we try to make it slightly fun by going and doing this thing? And that's not at all the way that I feel about it, because we're building global communities. This is something that we continue to do. This has nothing to do with being forced to be home, because ultimately we can create a better experience for people at home in certain situations than they would be in person. And I think yours is a great example of the question I would get to is, what can you do if you were to pre-record what you just spoke about, where you did a whole bunch of walking around the garden and pointing out a bunch of things, and then you had this edited, like just a really good piece that you played. I'm not saying that that's the way to do it. What I'm saying is, the question to ask yourself is, if I was to do that live, how would that make it a better experience for people? And the chances are it could, because it could be that they're able to ask questions in situation where they're able to say, hey, can you show me that thing again? And can you point out why X, Y, Z? A good example of this is I was in charge of a live stream of for 400 hand therapists, right? Hand therapists. And what we did is a live dissection of a cadaver hand. And so we had this highly expert surgeon who slowly, over 2 hours, dissected this hand, and 400 hand therapists were throwing all these questions at him while he was doing it. Now, he could have done a dissection of the hand by himself and pre-recorded it and then just made it available. But the experience was dramatically better because the questions at the point that he was doing the dissection made all the difference. And so it was that before he dissected the next part, they were asking questions. Can you turn it over? Can you show me it from this angle? Can you explain to me why this works? It was one of those moments where the technology that, like, these hand therapists were genuinely so appreciative of this experience, because they work with hands all day, every day, but never are they looking at exactly what's going on, beneath the surface in this way, and to spend that time with the surgeon. So without getting into, medical live streaming, I think there is some similarities with what you do, right? Where you're able to get into the specifics of something. And so then you're asking yourself, why am I doing this along the way? And you get to this point where, no, actually, I do think that those questions at that time in the situation would be really good. And so then you start saying that the questions are more important than the content that I just want to deliver. And so then you just keep taking those questions and you share a little bit more and you take more questions. And maybe you have a 5-minute video you play, but then you're you're now standing, in the situation, you're able to do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Grant, because even when I was doing my events a year ago, I would get to the point where I'd be doing what I call the beautiful food art, and I would like hold a flower. Well, do you like it here? Or do you like it here? Or do you like it here? Or what about this? What about that? And the people would literally, Melanie, turn it this way, turn it that way, try this, try that. I like this. And they felt like they were doing it with me. It was pretty magnificent without strategically thinking about it too much. But thank you.
Yeah, so there is strategy and then there's technical, and the technical aspects, anything outside, you just have challenges with sound particularly, right? And so sound is a challenge outside. Obviously it gets windy and now that's all they can hear, right? And so normally we would say, wearing a headset microphone to get really good sound from you is good, except in a windy environment they're terrible, right? And so often what is used more is like a boom microphone or a microphone that can have a big windshield on it that can be helpful. And so there's things like that you can consider. Jeff, you got some thoughts on this? Done some outside stuff?
Yeah, I've done some outside stuff. I would say pre-recorded in like a lavalier microphone with like a really thick, sometimes it's referred to as, like, if it's on a bigger boom mic, it's called a dead cat, which sounds disgusting if you're not familiar with this term. We throw it around every day and it just means a big furry thing that catches wind. But sometimes a little one that goes on a lav you'll hear called like a dead kitten. It's just a really furry thing. You'll see it's almost like
I
you'd
have
wear.
one. Blue recommended one of those to me a while back.
Perfect. So you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I won't go into detail there, but I was wondering, I was curious if anyone knows out there, a gimbal comes to mind. Do you know what a gimbal is, Melanie? Okay. It's something that automatically balances your camera for you. So if you're doing a lot of movements, it's not jerky all over the place. It's very smooth and buttery. It looks beautiful. There's a couple different ones that kind of come to mind that are really cost effective. Getting it to your computer and doing a wired or wireless transmission is a little bit more difficult. I'll give you one option in a second. There's something called an Osmo Pocket 3. And what's great is you can get the DJI little wireless mic. There's a way to sync that or link that to that with Bluetooth. So instead of having to manage audio separately and then connect all the pieces, you just press a button, it syncs and connects. That would be great for pre-record. I think I've heard, and if anybody on the call knows for sure, I think there's a way to live stream with that. I just haven't done it. I don't know.
I was thinking about that too.
I know you can for sure. Do you know if you can do that live stream, Grant, or if there's a way to wirelessly?
Only hardwired.
Okay.
And I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So there's
a trick too would be like ideally getting it into Zoom.
Yeah.
Rather than so like more of a live or low latent approach, but there is something there. I mean, see, there's also that's great suggestions, and there is the Osmo for a phone as well. What's that called? Osmo something.
I've used that hardwired in the past in
mobile.
Osmo
Mobile.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Osmo Mobile. Yeah.
I find it's a little bit more cumbersome to handle. To me, it's not as natural as the Pocket. But if you're plugging a hard wire in there, know that any tension on that wire is going to send that gimbal crazy. It's going to look like, a fire hose. If you see it out of control, it's just going to go all over the place. So what I did in the past is I zip tied the cable to the handle of the Osmo Mobile. That way, if there's any tension on the cable, it's going to pull my arm, or my hand where I'm hanging onto it, but not the camera independently. The whole unit's going to move together. As far as wireless transmission, this is an option over here. This is a setup we use called a Hollyland Mars. Just one of many options. This is a kind of a high-end wireless solution for sending HDMI or SDI. But that's getting a little fancy. But it's a way to do it. If you got to do wireless, it's a little more stable.
You can do it. And you can totally do that, and then you can have it switch from the studio. I think, Melanie, you're asking about like the podcast to video as well. And so if you could have, in theory, you can have a camera that's with a wireless transmitter like that then goes into the podcast to video, and that's how you get it into Zoom, and all of that still works. So it's all possible, but I think you're probably talking about a couple of team or 3 team members or something.
Yeah, I'll have people here. I'll have some
okay.
people here that have already.
The other thing you can do is honestly just use an iPhone and make sure your Zoom application is signed in to the same account that the Zoom app on your phone is. And I think this works even in, I don't know where my phone is right now, or I would check this, but when you go into the Zoom application, okay, it does work. So when you go into the Zoom application on your phone, when you're not in the meeting, but you're on the meeting or in the meeting on another device, it'll say switch to my phone. There's literally a button, and you
Who
press
said yes, it does work.
Yeah, and you press that button.
Who said yes?
Yeah, it does work. So I think
Muddy gave a thumbs up.
Yeah. So you press the join the meeting from your phone, and it puts you into the same meeting and changes the video source. And now it's using, forget wires, honestly, just test it, make sure it works. And I would just say, hey, listen, guys, we're going to try something a little experimental. This may fail, okay? I just want to give you a heads up. This is how I would do it if I was you, okay? I would pull out my phone, I'd click join the meeting, I'd put it in selfie mode, I'd hold it myself, and I'd say, okay, guys, so I'm gonna walk you out to my garden. We're on my phone right now, so it's a little shaky. I'm sorry I don't have a professional setup like my good friend Jeff Feely, but I do have a phone. So here, check this out, and walk outside and press the little camera button in the Zoom app and flip the camera around so it's the camera that is behind you, and now say, this is my garden, and reach your hand into the shot and pull it out, and then walk yourself back in and switch back to your computer. Go.
Well, I thank you. You know I'm not techie, so I appreciate how you always.
Well, and honestly, I have to tell you, I've used that feature when I'm on a call in my office. I use that feature all the time when I'm talking to somebody who's never been to the studio, who wants to know about the studio. I say, here, let me walk you through it. And I pull out my phone, I click the little button, and I walk around.
I agree, but not as a host in Obvio.
But again, I'll have people here helping me. I literally will have.
That's great.
Human beings here.
So you just join again. So everything that Blue said was accurate, except switching as easily from one computer to the mobile device.
Can you not?
That doesn't. No, not as a host. Muddy.
Well, only because you're not signed in to the same account, because you're not signed in to the Obvio host account on your mobile device.
Correct. Right. That's right.
I'm going to go find my phone. I'll be right back.
I did.
He's going to have fun playing now, figuring it out.
And Melanie, the biggest thing I would say is test at different times of the day. Got a good signal out there. You could join meetings like this meeting or one of the leap calls from your phone, walk out there, make sure you can still hear whatever's going on in the meeting. You could pop in for this or office hours, where you get to ask questions pretty easily, make sure we can hear you and it's not all jittery and everything else, so that you can get that testing out of the way.
And you're always so practical, Justin. You guys know me well.
Well, and it's because I have terrible cell signal at my house, to be honest. I don't even get enough upload speed when I'm on pure cell to even join anything.
Okay.
And so I know I have to test and make sure my Wi-Fi reaches far enough out there and all of that. And you're in Florida by the water, so.
I know, and I've got lots of wind and I've got lots of pool pumps out here. Yeah.
Yep. And as everyone said, worst case scenario, you do some filming. If it's hard to get a microphone where you can hear it, you do some filming and then do a voiceover over for it. There's lots of ways to kind of skin this so that you have a backup plan.
Somebody wrote something in the Facebook group about something, and I said, well, just practice it by doing your lives. I mean, I can practice, like you're saying. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And enough people that will easily, if you said, hey, I want to hop on a call and test some stuff, there's enough people on Leap in your network that I'm sure would hop on a call with you.
Yeah, you know that, and I do it too. Thanks.
Yep.
That's a great point, Justin, too, about doing pre-recorded and then live commentary. The thing that's really key on that is having the ability to scrub through it yourself and to be able to go back and forth, right? So someone asks a question and you need to go back a couple of minutes in the video. You have the ability to, just in the way that you're playing it, and you're on the computer or however you're doing it, have it to where you can scrub back and find the section in the video, and then you can pause it and play it and pause, and that can be really powerful too. That can be a great way of doing it. And that can also be a backup strategy. And that's what I would say is anything that you do outside, and this is another phrase we use, is we plan for rainy days, not for sunny days, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're not expecting it to rain. You plan for the rainy day. What is the backup strategy if rain comes? And if rain comes, if it's very windy, it's whatever, that's great. We go to plan B. I've got a pre-record of this and I'm just going to talk over it. And it's no problem. So sweet. Blue's gone quiet, so I'm assuming he can't make it. Just switch from one to another.
Yeah, I think he's trying.
Yeah. Cool. What else have we got, Heather? More production questions.
Yeah, one more from Melanie, and then she wants to know if we can review the list of things that go into the Rodecaster video.
The things that can, or the things that should, or the things that would. Yeah, so what Blue showed, and so for those that weren't there might be some Obvio users. There was a Leap Tech Day that we spent talking about tech all day. And so there's a little bit of a hangover that's happening here. But to be clear, Obvio questions still take priority. So if you have any specific Obvio questions, then please make yourself known in a number of different possible ways. So one of the things we looked at on that day was the Videocaster Pro. The Rode Videocaster Pro is essentially like an ATEM and a nice audio mixer in one. And the things that that it can take is anything HDMI, which means a camera, a good camera that has an HDMI out, and of course computers, right? So any computer that you want to bring in, or the PowerPoint presentation or something, or video playback, that sort of thing. It also has USB-C webcam. So the typical webcams that you have, that you might have, little webcams for computers, it will accept one of those as well as an input. It then has XLR input for microphones, or for connecting a mixer, like a mixing board with multiple microphones. You can connect in that way. And it also has the ability to have the Rode wireless mics connect to it directly, and so that can work too. I think that's probably mostly it.
Grant, on the audio front, those XLR connectors are actually combo connectors, so it's either XLR or quarter inch.
Great. Yep. So that makes it more flexible as well. And then you can have images, and actually some video can play off of the device as well. And there's a little SD card in there, and that can play some videos. So there's some things that can be done on the device too, and then you can do all the sorts of recording. So you probably want a larger hard drive connected to it as well, and that can record everything isolated. It can. So you can choose whether you want just video of the main switched output, just audio of the sound that's going out, and then all the isolated video, so that then you get an individual video recording for each of the inputs that you have going into it, which means that you can actually edit the whole thing again later. It gives you all the inputs. And so I would add on that one of the things that's really cool with events, with Zoom events, is having a recording of the gallery view. And if you may not ever cut to it, but having the gallery view as an input in a switcher that's recording every input means that when you go back and edit, you can include the gallery view every now and again, or reactions, or things like that. So that can be really powerful too. So
thank you. I was pretty tired by the time we got to that last night.
fair enough.
And Melanie, are you using an ATEM today?
No, I just decided not to use my background just to practice, and I have one light right here in front of me.
Well, for your events though, like, you've
Oh,
had
for my
multiple
events,
cameras, so like, what did you
I'll
use?
have a real camera. Like I have a webcam right here right now, a Logitech, but I'll have a real camera and probably this new thing that we're talking about.
Okay, so you don't currently have a mixer, an ATEM,
No,
or
no,
any of
no,
that stuff yet?
no,
Okay.
no, I was on pause for about a year and a half.
In that case, if you are looking at having multiple cameras and computers going into it and images and a bunch of the audio we've talked about, then
I have lighting here and in Arizona, so I'll be bringing supplies from there here. But like Marty was talking yesterday, I have I rebought booms and stuff like that, or whatever the stands are called. So I have that kind of stuff. I just have to reuse
the Rode
it again.
Videocaster would most likely meet your needs.
Okay.
You're starting from scratch.
I'm starting from scratch again.
Yeah, that's where for the audio amount of audio you're going to have, the Rodecaster Video would be perfect.
Yeah, I agree, and yeah, I think it's a great device, and yeah. So and I as I said at the start, like it's like what Barry always says: is strategy first, right? Like you're just thinking about what it is that you're wanting to achieve, and then working backwards from that, and always like, how does this make a difference to the people that I'm connecting with? How does it increase the experience? How does it make that experience better? And so then what are the right tools, to use to be able to do that properly, and to not get distracted by it, but this is not your first rodeo. There's a
but Grant, what I said to somebody yesterday, it's not my first rodeo, but I'm definitely up leveling this time, which is pretty exciting.
So you're
riding a bigger bull.
Bull. There we go. Oh, you bet me to it. I was about to say the same thing.
Bigger boat out here.
Yeah, that's right. Either that, or you're the clown running around distracting the bull. I don't know where, or you're just watching it. I do like the t-shirts that say, "No, this actually is my first rodeo," or "No, this is my second rodeo." Those are good. Muddy, what do you got?
We were thinking about wireless transmission. One of the things that I have used effectively with a video switcher system is actually connecting an Apple TV device. So you can it only needs to be generation 3 or later is when the AirPlay between the phone and an Apple TV. And so I have found them on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace for $50, less than $100 for sure. And an Apple TV, well, the way I use it is I have an Apple TV that plugs into my video switcher into the ATEM, and I can connect the iPad and mirror the screen to the Apple TV. Excuse me.
Marty, I don't have Apple products. I only have PCs plus an iPhone.
I know. So the iPhone is what I'm talking about. So
the iPhone. Okay.
The other way that I use it is with a phone. If I want to show somebody something in my studio and I need to just grab a quick shot, I turn on screen mirroring from my phone, open the camera app, and now what's showing on that video, on that signal, I cut to the Apple TV, and what they're seeing is my camera view. So now I can kind of look around the studio, and I've got a completely wireless device that's going into my ATEM. So just another idea on how, even if you wanted to use iPhones around your set, if you paired each one with an Apple TV into the switcher, you could kind of cut to that. Just a convenient wireless way to do it. That can be relatively affordable because you don't need the latest, greatest Apple TV.
Yeah, that's cool. John, what do you got?
Turn my mic on. Just a quick question. Is it on the dashboard, is it better to just use a URL for a video or embed the video? Sometimes you want to have them stay on the page. And if you just use the YouTube URL, it takes them to YouTube.
Yeah. So when you're adding a video, to a blog post on the dashboard, there's two. Well, let me get to your question first, because there's two ways of adding a video, and then what you're talking about is even a third way of just having a link. I think if it's a YouTube video, there's not really a lot of advantage in sending them off to YouTube Direct. All that's going to do is, keep them on YouTube. So you don't want right. They're just going to find a cat video that is there, and never come back to yours to the dashboard. But so I think you want to embed it, and just keep it there. The only thing that happens is there's things that we shouldn't really be worried about is like stats, the way that some stats work and the way that monetization works for YouTube and things like that is different for embedding versus actually them going to YouTube Direct. So therefore, we're not worried about that. If we're not worried about that, then we just want to have them stay on the dashboard. The two ways for YouTube is that you can just say enter video or insert video, and then just put the link in that URL, the URL in that field, and then it will just automatically add it. Let me show you. So I've got a good example here because of what I have on our dashboard is a little more complex of YouTube. So here. On the right one. There. So what you can see here is I've not just got a video, but I have a playlist, a YouTube playlist that's in there. And it's a little bit different, that involved me using some code to be able to put that in there. We have, I think playlists, live. Yeah, playlists don't embed at the moment. So that's a different way of doing it. But if we were to look at, well, even these ones are like that, that it would have been, that is too. Let me show you by putting a new blog post. And then here we have a video insert media. And so if you have a YouTube, a Vimeo, Wistia, there's a few ones that we have built integrations so that you can just grab your YouTube video and let me find here, just getting a video, and I can just take the link even just that's in the YouTube address. So if I put that there, we go. Then that automatically embeds it. You don't have to do anything fancy.
Oh, I didn't know it did an auto embed. Okay.
Yeah. And so
it's actually the best way to do it because it also adjusts, it's scaled properly for mobile.
Yeah.
Whereas if you use the actual YouTube embed code, it's not the standard YouTube embed code is not responsive.
Good to know. Well, so I'm just adding some videos to the dashboard, and
yeah,
I want to make sure I was
so that's totally the best way to do it. Is just to insert media, particularly if it's YouTube.
Okay.
And that'll handle it. So specifically what Blue's talking about is that it's see how it's managing its growing with it, rather than if you use the embed code, it will be a fixed size and it won't work very well and start messing up the dashboard. So there you go.
Thank you.
And Grant, for you, that button to insert media doesn't work with playlists now.
It does?
It does.
Oh, nice.
It did not used to, but after I saw you embedding it, we made that change like a month ago.
Yeah, great. Awesome. There you go. Yeah, so just I've mentioned this a few times, but I have this playlist here, that makes it easy for people to come and just view these videos. So
you can put a playlist in that link as well.
Yes. Sorry. Let's test it. This is a playlist. I've got a bit of inception going at the moment. All right. So this is a playlist. It says "and list" in the address there. And so if I was to do a new post and insert media, do that. Look at that. So now that's a YouTube playlist, and it's showing this one at the moment. There's more inception because this is live at the moment, but you'll see. Let's see. I wonder if that's confused because we're live. Just see what that does. Yeah, I think it is showing. It's showing the latest one, but see here. Now we might double check that, Justin. See how mine has the playlist there.
I did notice that.
Yeah, have a little look. Anyway, so what I do is when we go live, and I live stream to YouTube just to make it super easy. Live stream, and as soon as the live stream happens on YouTube, I just add it to this playlist, and so then it has the latest one there, and now you can go back through all the recordings, and so it's an easy way for you to access these recordings. It's just to come through it this way. So we don't do it for the live streaming aspect or for people to watch on YouTube during the show, but just to get
easy way to capture the recording. So, but
yeah,
is that the second one there is a little bit different?
It's slightly different, yeah. So Justin's going to look at that after praising himself. He's now going to have to go back and look if it was right. It'll be slightly different. You can compare the embed code of what I've got there. But yes, so to answer that question though, yeah, I think it's always best to have them stay on the dashboard, right? So
yes.
So then they only seeing your content.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you could that it would just sort of embed all by itself.
Yeah. Insert media. So it was YouTube, Vimeo, and Wistia. Is there any more, Justin? Do you know?
Big membership IO is also supported.
Yeah, nice. Okay, great. All right. Any other questions?
We don't have any that were submitted.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Blue just sheepishly exited when he couldn't make the switch to mobile work.
He did sort of disappear.
He did, didn't he? Yeah.
I have a
Marty, have you made it work
tool?
as an attendee? I don't think. As an attendee, it works okay.
I have a production tool that's been really helpful if there's time and that might help somebody.
Yeah. So just one sec, Jeff. Muddy, is your sound not working now? I think as an attendee.
There we go. Yeah, I had the wrong mic selected from an earlier meeting. Yeah, in fact, I just did it. I was on my mobile. I came up to my office and opened the Zoom client, the local desktop client. It lists the meeting and shows at the top of that list the current meeting you're in, and there's a button there that says switch. Click the switch button. And what's nice is I had my camera turned off when I got up here. It brought me into this meeting with camera off. I hadn't noticed that.
That's cool.
Move before, but that was cool.
That's cool. Yeah. So everything that Blue was saying was accurate. It was just that if you were logged in as a host on a computer, then in an Obvio call, then you won't get that switch option on a mobile device. But I actually think that what you were
say
suggesting,
logged in
Muddy,
as a
with having
host, really what you're meaning if you join the meeting from the Obvio backend. So that could be host or
Yes.
co-host, but if you join through the Obvio account.
That's right. Yeah, I think your suggestion, Muddy, of having it joined separately is a better way to do it. And then it can be spotlit by someone, and away it goes. So that could be the way to do it. But if you weren't going to do it through the same switcher, which was what Jeff was, or Muddy was also suggesting with the idea of a screen share or a Apple Play across
or joining. What I put in the chat was joining as through the speaker link, right? So if someone else was able to start the meeting, if you came in through the speaker link, which essentially you're coming as an attendee, but with kind of early access, you're not joining through the Obvio backend. You're joining with that special link. You could be signed into your client with your own account, and it could work that way.
Yep, good one. What have you got, Jeff?
Yeah, this is a tool that's been really helping us with organization. So I thought that it might be helpful to you. Now, what you're going to see on my screen in just a second is what my team needs. So pay attention to more the problem that it solves versus what you see, because you may or may not have access to those things. But the problem I was trying to solve is my team, folks that are doing help desk, people that are handling my enrollment lobby, handling sales. I have people that help queue up questions. So in other words, in Zoom chat, they will, there's a different software that we use to pin things that are helpful. Justin actually did some custom work for me. Thank you, Justin, to make it easy for handling student questions and filtering out things that are inappropriate, because that's what students love to put once in a while, try to catch me off guard. Anyways, it was trying to figure out how do I get them access to everything, right? They're keeping track of the stage timer, right? The countdown timer of how much time I have left to talk. There's different windows and sections in Obvio. There's the run of show, which is a document telling them what's coming next. There's a Slack where we're chatting as a team on the back end. And when you think of all you have to manage throughout an event, you could have like 10 different tabs open. And the problem is you may need your team looking at multiple things at the same time. So instead of trying to give everybody working on your event 5 different computer monitors, it's not likely that everybody has, a Muddy or Justin or Jeff setup with that, or Grant with all the screens behind him. How do you do that? And so this is a tool that makes it easy to organize that. So I'll just show you my screen here. It's called Dashmaster 2K, and you can see in the URL here in this app.dashmaster2k.com. It's by a guy named John Barker, who has a company and YouTube channel called Here to Record. And what it allows you to do is really organize a number of different things on your screen. So I'll just kind of go through real quick kind of how we use it, and then you can creatively think of how you might be able to fill these spaces. It's totally customizable, so you can sort of draw different boxes. So we've got our event countdown timer up here. I want everybody in the team to always know what session we're on and how much time is left, so they know when breaks are coming up, when people may go into an enrollment lobby, for an offer. I want them to know all of that. I want them to have access to some tabs and documents. So this is giving them access to Obvio here. This is our virtual event playbook, so sort of our standard operating procedures we're going to use throughout the event. This is visible for someone who's controlling my timer in Studio. They're maybe advancing it to the next session for me, or notes. If there's any sort of emergency, this pops up on screen to me in Studio. We also can have a different feed that goes to our speaker. If I'm not the one on stage, I happen to be on stage for this event, so it just showed up to me if there's something urgent. And then this is a sort of a backstage pass. This is the room registration link that gets people right into Zoom. Our team calls that backstage pass. Up here, this is a live feed. If my help desk folks are sitting there and there's no one needing help for a while, they often like to watch the event. So it also gives them context, right? Because if someone comes in for a question, they're like, oh yeah, Jeff just talked about that on stage, or whatever speaker, fill in the blank. And so they can't be in two Zoom meetings at the same time easily, but they can, easily watch the feed here. And then if someone comes in, pops up on Zoom, they just pause it, right? So that there's no audio or video distracting them. And all we're doing to create this feed is we're just pumping whatever is broadcasted on Zoom into YouTube. So just a simple setting in Zoom. This is sort of our chat moderation, and this is our internal chat here as a team. So instead of using Slack, we just have this window. So just an idea of how to use some things and organize it. And it's been a game changer for us and helping keep people on task, and thought some of you might benefit as well.
Really cool. What is the chat? What's the chat plugin you're using there?
So we're using Social Stream Ninja to grab the chat from Zoom. And so, yeah, Social Stream Ninja, it's free if it's something you're listening and you've not heard of. And then we're using a custom browser dock in OBS to feed it in. And that can live in OBS, so that's how I see chats in studio. And then the one that I showed you here on screen, people can go and pin the questions that are most important.
That's cool. What's the team chat service you're using?
The team chat is actually built in a Dashmaster 2K. So as long as you pay for a paid account, it wasn't expensive at all. It gives you access to that, and so you just pay for that, and yeah, it's really nice because you don't have to have Slack or another device open.
Something
it's
else.
Front and center.
Really cool. Thanks for showing that. That's great.
Yeah, hope it helps somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. It makes you just think. It's all these things you just store in your head that you're just like, oh yeah, that need will come up at some point. So,
and I'm showing it on screen right now, and building a new custom layout. You can kind of design whatever boxes you want, and then in the boxes you can choose what modules those are. So you can go to edit and switch module, and all of these kind of modules are available to you natively, but there's also iframe and so some of these other, the chat, as I think what Jeff was talking about, is one of those tools. I love Dashmaster 2K.
It takes a little bit to learn. It's not difficult. It just isn't quite as intuitive as, you can't just take a window and drag it somewhere else. You have to kind of reset the grid. So they just actually sent out a survey asking for some feedback. And I was like, it'd be really nice to click and drag, and then you just drop it, right? You just let go and it sort of resizes itself. So you don't have to build it again each time. But I have sort of different template kind of things that I use. And so if you do a little bit of work on the front end, it becomes very easy to recreate them. It's very quick.
That's great. That's great. Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Kat, did you have something? Last message.
Sorry,
question. Okay. I'm sorry too.
Kat has left the building.
Yeah.
While she's frozen, Valerie did have something she put in chat. Disktopia has an embeddable player. Is it possible to use that on the dashboard, or only YouTube, Wistia, Vimeo?
Oh, okay. It's not. It is possible to do it on the dashboard. It's just not possible to use the insert media field at this point. So you just need to explore the embed code option, and then copy that embed code and put it in as a insert HTML on the blog post. Sometimes, to Blue's point, some services like Vimeo, when you ask for their embed code, has an option for it to be responsive or not. Responsive meaning that it will resize to whatever the window size is. Some services have that the standard embed code is responsive. Some of them ask you for a size, and then it becomes a little bit trickier. So using that service, you might just need someone who's slightly technical. One way that I've done it before is actually taken a Vimeo embed code that was already set up to be responsive, and then changed the actual address inside that embed code to another service, and now I've got a responsive code. So, but it just takes someone to sort of mess around with that a little bit. Or ChatGPT would totally do it. if you gave it the embed code from this other service and said, I want it to be size responsive, it would totally give you the right code, and you could just plug, copy and paste it in. That wouldn't be difficult. Cool. Someone else raise a hand. Muddy, was that?
I had raised my hand, but when you go to a blog post to create a blog post in Obvio, in the kind of dialogue window where the editor, there's a button for import video, but there's another button for import code, right? And that would just give you a spot where you could just drop that HTML embed from another service and save it. So that's just kind of talking through. You need to kind of click the button, right?
Insert code. Yep, that's right. Yep. Exactly.
And the button you're looking for is in the second row, and it says HTML on the button.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Very good. Well, thank you, everyone. That was a fun little journey. And we will do it all again next week, 5 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday. And you can email us if you need to in the meantime, help@obv.io. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.